Baby, the guards in ICU today are different, bigger, meaner, carrying heavier guns. When she pushes open the door, that gray-eyed colonel is standing by the bed, close enough that she can smell cedar and gunpowder on him. He says one thing, low enough that only she can hear, watch your back, nurse. The walls have ears. The next morning, the drive to the hospital was a blur. Caroline's mind was stuck on a loop, Preston's sarcastic, good girl, and her mother's triumphant smile. She felt like a puppet with everyone pulling her strings. When she walked into the hospital, her phone buzzed. A text from Brenna. More suits today. ICU is locked down. Be careful. Caroline sighed and headed for the elevator. The ICU wing was even more tense than before. The guards at the end of the hall were different, bigger, meaner, carrying heavier weapons. They checked her badge 3 times before letting her through. She pushed open the door to room 3 and stopped. Dr. Adler was standing by the bed, whispering urgently with Jared Romero. Romero was in the same combat uniform, but today he looked even more on edge, hands clasped behind his back, knuckles white, jaw clenched so tight a muscle was jumping in his cheek. They both looked up as she entered. Caroline froze. The air felt thick, charged with tension. Dr. Adler looked nervous. Romero just looked dangerous. Nurse Thompson, Dr. Adler said. The colonel was just reviewing the patient's progress. Caroline nodded and walked to the monitors. She could feel Romero's gaze on her, heavy and assessing. The medication schedule needs to be adjusted, Romero said, his voice low. He's too sedated. I need him lucid by 1,800 hours. Colonel, if we reduce the sedation, Dr. Adler started. I am aware of the risks, doctor, Romero cut him off. Adjust the dosage. That is an order. Dr. Adler swallowed hard. Romero turned to the door. As he passed Caroline, he stopped, close enough that she could smell him again. Cedar. Gunpowder. Her pulse skipped. He looked down at her, those gray eyes unreadable but intense. Watch your back, nurse, he said quietly. The walls have ears. Then he was gone. Caroline let out a shaky breath. What did that mean? She looked around the room. The walls have ears. She turned to the bed. Lieutenant Peterson was watching her, his eyes clearer than before. We all trust the colonel, he rasped. He's decisive. You just do your job, and he'll handle the rest. Be careful. This world isn't for civilians. Caroline stared at him, confused, but Peterson had already closed his eyes, sleep reclaiming him. Her eyes drifted to the bedside table. A black briefcase with a silver tag on the zipper. A number engraved on it, not a military format. She looked away. Then she glanced up at the ceiling corner. A camera. Red indicator light. Not hospital security, those were white with blue lights. This was black with a red light. How had she not noticed it before? She flipped through the chart. Alston Peterson, Lieutenant, JAG Corps. JAG. The military's legal department. What kind of legal case puts a man in this condition? She didn't ask. But she memorized that number. Footsteps in the hallway. Heavy. Combat boots. Not a patrol, someone walking fast. Then a door opening next door. Caroline listened, but couldn't make out the words. Just a low rumble of people trying not to be heard. She remembered what Brenna had said, the FBI tried to get in and got turned away at gunpoint. Not the hospital blocking them. Romero was. This whole ICU was his territory now. She walked to the window and peeked through the blinds. 3 black SUVs in the parking lot. 2 men in suits standing next to them, sunglasses on, motionless. She watched for 5 seconds, then pulled the blinds shut. More footsteps in the hallway. 2 sets. The first one had a longer stride. The second one slightly faster, like someone trying to keep up. The door didn't open. The footsteps passed. Caroline looked down at her chart and kept writing. Her handwriting was neat. Steady. But if anyone looked closely, they would notice, in the margin under, vital signs, she had written a tiny string of numbers. That tag number. She wasn't hiding it. She wasn't advertising it. It was just there. If anyone asked, she could say it was a random note. But if anyone knew what that number meant, they would know she wasn't just a nurse, doing her job. On the bed, Lieutenant Peterson shifted, mumbling something in his sleep. Caroline walked over and pulled the blanket up. His lips were moving. She leaned closer, didn't sign. I didn't sign. Didn't sign what? She straightened up. Romero's warning. Peterson's sleep talk. The silver tag. The red camera light. The pieces swirled in her head, not yet a complete picture. But she had a strong, sharp feeling, the picture was about to come together. And once it did, there was no going back. 5:58 p.m. 2 minutes before Romero's, lucid by 1,800 hours. Caroline stood by the bed, watching Peterson's eyelids flutter. He was waking up. And outside the door, boots. Coming toward room 3. More than one set. She heard Romero's voice, just 2 words, open it. Her palms started to sweat. She didn't know what was about to happen, but she knew one thing, that gray-eyed colonel had already pulled her into something else entirely. And that red light on the ceiling. It was still blinking. One blink at a time.